Ingeteam Power Technology. Power Grid Automation. Tutorials. Topic: RBAC configuration of INGEPAC IEDs from their web server. In this video, we will learn how to modify the role-based access control configuration of an INGEPAC IED from its web server. First, we will access the web server of the IED. We will enter the Cybersecurity Management credentials, specifically the SecAdmin user. Next, in the Cybersecurity tab, we will navigate to the RBAC section where several functionalities are available. In the first tab, List of Users, we can access a table that displays all modern usernames, their assigned roles, and their status. The first button allows us to enable the system user, which can be used to access the IED via SSH. The second button enables the legacy users FTP pack, FTP user, and FTP updat. Legacy usernames correspond to the modern ones, except that they do not start with the letter S, which stands for secure. The third button allows us to disable the default Cybersecurity Management user. However, this button remains disabled until a custom Cybersecurity Management user is created, preventing the cybersecurity configuration from becoming inaccessible. In addition to viewing existing users, we can also configure a new user from the New User section on the left side of the screen. In this interface, we can enter the username, select the user role, that is, the set of user permissions, and define the password. Once all the information has been entered, we can confirm the creation of the user by clicking on the Send Changes button. If we return to the List of Users section, the newly created user will appear in the list. Below the New User section, we can change the password of any user in the IED. We will select the new user from the drop-down menu and then enter the new password twice. In addition to modifying the password, we can also change the role assigned to a specific user, thereby redefining the permissions granted to that user. After reassigning the role, we can return to the List of Users section to verify the updated role. The next section, Change Role, allows us to manage the roles configured in the IED. The rows will represent the roles already included in the RBAC configuration of the IED. On the other hand, the columns represent the permissions which may be configured for each role. View Data allows the user to read real-time signals and measurements from the IED. Control allows users with this permission to send commands to the IED. Settings allows the user to manage protection, control, and logic settings within the IED configuration. Config View allows the user to visualize and download configuration settings. Config Change allows the user to upload new configurations to the IED. Firmware Change allows the user to update the IED firmware version. RBAC Management allows the user to configure all the features mentioned so far and those described later. Security Management allows users with this permission to configure other cybersecurity settings, such as session timeout, network interface disabling, secure communication certificates, and others. Security Audit allows the user to configure cybersecurity logs. Finally, Audit Trail allows the user to access logs of cybersecurity events, such as session logins, password changes, and configuration modifications. Below the table where permissions are defined for each role, 4 buttons are available. Read the configured roles and permissions, edit a custom role, create a new custom role, or remove existing custom roles. When creating a custom role, we can click the name of an existing role to copy its permissions directly. We can then use the checkboxes to include or exclude permissions for the custom role. Finally, we define the name of the custom role. We click the Send Changes button to add the new role to the IED's RBAC configuration. Using the button on the far right, we can remove any custom roles. The web interface displays a message listing the roles that can be removed, in this case admin and new role. To remove a role, we select the radio button to the right of the corresponding row and send the changes to the IED. Next, we return to the Change Role section where we assign a new role to the user previously created. Then returning to the Role Configuration tab, we remove the admin role, which also removes the user associated with that role. If we return to the List of Users section, we will see that the new user account has been removed. From the Activate User section, we can change a user's state back to active. From the Block Users section, we can perform the opposite action. The status of each user can be verified in the List of Users section under the State column. Below the Block User section, we can access the interface used to remove a user. Finally, we access the Restore Configuration section, which allows us to restore the RBAC configuration and the numeric password used in the local display of an IED back to factory settings. To continue, we must enter the number displayed in the first text box into the second one and confirm the action using the Restore Configuration button. Next, we will try to disable the default security management user. To do so, we will create a new user with the SecADM role named new SecAdmin. Then we will log out and log back in using the new SecAdmin user. If we access the List of Users section again, we will see that the button to disable the default Cybersecurity Management user is now enabled. Once the default Cybersecurity Management user is disabled, it will no longer be possible to log into the IEDs web server using that account. Finally, we now know how to modify the role-based access control configuration of an INGEPAC IED from its web server.
Ingeteam, electrifying a sustainable future.